back. We got everyone who needs to be here. All right.
Yes.
There he is. Kia ora, Dean. Kia ora, Rob.
Got it.
All right. Shall we kick straight into it? Dean, I'll hand to you to do the intro.
Yep.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you, Mayor and councillors. So we're on page 279 of your agenda pack, which is the Sport Waikato Play Active Recreation Sports Plan. We were going to have Steve Dalgetty online, but he's travelling and he's not in the best spot where he is. So we've got Rob online. If we have any questions, just a typo, and my apologies. In recommendation 1, it should read that the report was dated the 26th of March 2025. So I had too many 26s on my mind. So just really briefly, you'll all be aware of the process that we've gone through, the workshops with SARC and recently with full council. One thing that you might not be aware of, or I'd like to just remind you of if you were here at the time, but in 21-24, the funding agreement that was presented to our council and signed off as part of that long-term plan included specifically a KPI directing Sport Waikato to review and update the PARS plan. So that's the process that they have been going along with and achieving. What you've heard at recent workshops is that the document is intended to be at a strategy level, have some high-level strategic recommendations that reflect the analysis data and survey inputs that were gathered. However, we also heard that it doesn't necessarily mean that we'll do all of them. The report is not asking for additional funds to help activate any of these recommendations. Going back to the funding agreements, in the 24-27 funding agreement, which is the current funding agreement, that one has a focus on implementation. It has a focus on meeting more regularly at the community board level and with the SARC committee. And so it's going to be at those stages when Sport Waikato come out, meet with your boards, talk about those opportunities with the schools and the groups and the clubs that they've been meeting with, and essentially go through the priorities in each ward area. And just a final highlight. So we've currently got an existing plan on our website, which is old. The report says that there's no clear disadvantages to recommendation number 1, which is to adopt the new plan, and that will make us consistent with the other councils in the Waikato region. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Dean. So I'll open this for discussion. Actually, we might receive the report. So can I get a mover in a second just to receive the report? Robin and Martin, thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. Open it for discussion, questions? No? Okay. Rob, is there anything you wanted to add at this stage?
Thank you, Mayor Len. Only one addition to me further to what Dean was speaking about, that in the plan, and we've reiterated this before, that we have included the annual informal review process and the 3-yearly formal review process. So as priorities change and new data and insights, which is what this plan is driven by, come to light, and obviously in line with consultation with community boards, clubs, groups and things like that, the purpose being that the plan is designed to be very adaptable based off new data and insights that we do receive.
Thanks, Rob. Okay. Robin.
Just going to say, I feel like it's nice that we've seen this again. I'm really reassured that this is going to go to a community board level, because I think that that's a really appropriate place for this sort of localised decision making to be made. And it doesn't seem that there's needs to be a lot of discussion. Everybody seems very quiet, so I'm really happy to move number 2 that we adopt the updated sport and recreation plan.
Thanks, Robin. Do we have a seconder for that? Delhi. So if there's no further discussion, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Thanks, Dean. Thanks, Rob. Sure.
2 abstentions.
2 abstentions? Sure. And Rob, apologies for, we probably could have nailed this before lunch, but I remember the last couple of times there was some discussion around it, so I wanted to leave space for that. So you never know which way the wind blows, do you? So
I think better with full stomachs. That's fine.
yes. All right. So we had an idea that you're probably playing video games or practicing a guitar in between. So, all right, mate, we'll let you get back to it.
Thank you.
Take care. Cheers. All right. Okay, item 2.5, approval of water supply easement 509 Parawai Road, Thames. Brett and Jody. Jody, we haven't met.
No, we haven't.
Are you
Good
new?
afternoon. Yes, good
Oh, well,
afternoon,
welcome.
everyone. Thank you. I'm a new member with the project delivery team. Started back in November, so
Okay,
nice to see all your faces.
well, nice to have you on the team. So welcome to the Thames-Coromandel District Council,
Thank you.
even if it is a bit late. So, all right, Brett, I'll hand over to you. Do you want to just,
I'm letting Jody.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I
Right.
can speak to this paper. So the purpose of this report, which is starting on page 307 of your agenda pack, is to seek approval for agreement for works and to grant easement that's required for works to realign a water supply pipeline on 509 Parawai Road. The easement will be under the Public Works Act. We require the easement to undertake some regular renewals of the pipeline, and when we were looking into it, we identified that there was a stormwater line that runs through the property as well, which doesn't have an easement covering it. So we're just seeking to formalize the arrangement to protect ourselves for future. So I'll take the rest of the report as read and take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Delhi, please.
I'd be happy to move that because I think it's quite clear and beautifully explained. Thank you.
Fabulous. Second that. All right. Well, we've got a seconder. Yep. All right. Thank you. I'll put the, oh, sorry, Peter, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. Just, it's not a conflict of interest, but it is in my hood. I'm just curious with the red line, why it just doesn't join up comfortably with the blue one, why with the blue pipe, but it just seems to me you've got an unnecessary corner.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, absolutely, it does. But the blue line unfortunately goes underneath a very large Pahudakawa tree, which in the future would cause disruption with its roots and further breakages. So we're just realigning it to avoid
So you're going around,
going around.
right, and then you come back onto the blue pipe. But it seems to me you could come back onto the blue pipe in a nice straight line rather than having a bend in it.
We're getting deeply operational.
Waste engineer.
Councillor Rimmel.
If I could just answer
Why-
that,
Why does it?
councillor.
Oh, we're deep into operations.
Rather than having-
Mr. Houston would like to answer.
Through the chair, the reason we've come back is to join up to an existing hydrant that is there. Otherwise, we would have to relocate the hydrant at greater expense.
Thank you, staff. Very good.
You happy with that, Councillor Rimmel? All right. Oh, God. All right, thank you. So we've got a mover and a second. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Thank you. That was easy. Thanks, Kate. So, Jody, thank you once again. It's nice to have you on the team. Okay, thank you. Is Mitch, see you? Saw him earlier. There he is. Thanks, Mitch. Page 265, joint letter of 265? 265, we're going backwards, gone back. Okay.
Yeah.
Kia ora, Ari. Is it possible to bring up on the screen, the agenda pack, just because I don't have the page numbers on my printout, if they're referencing. Hello, everybody.
Kia ora, Mitch.
I'm excellent, thank you. Big morning for you guys. So interesting in that this is a CCO, decision Thames-Coromandel, reflecting on the waters conversations earlier, and the work that we've been doing since the review has been a bit around better connecting the governance at a council level with the governance and outcomes at DHC. So this is a continuation of the implementation of the review recommendations. We have developed an outcome and output framework. I think I might have gotten them the right way around. And the purpose of that framework is to really lay out the things that are important, how DHC is working towards delivering on those outcomes, and how those outcomes sit within a strategic context. I guess the two decisions we're asking are for you to endorse the direction of the framework and to also it is to approve the draft joint letter of expectations, which is a shared document that helps Destination Thames-Coromandel set their business plan for the year ahead.
Councillors, questions? Peter Harrell, please.
Thank you. Just a quick one. Has the new board of Destination Hauraki Coromandel, have they been involved with the development of this, or is this landing on their desk as a great surprise?
So it's not a surprise, but it is landing on their desk. Due to the timing of the appointment of the new board, they haven't had a really good chance to provide feedback on this. So the framework was developed at a staff level with DHC staff and staff from Hauraki District Council. And then there was input from the joint panel and the comments that elected members shared in the meeting that we had with the new trustees were also reflected or should be reflected in the framework. So we're still expecting to have some feedback from the board after their May meeting. But I think I've been most concerned with getting the structure and the process in place, and so the KPIs that have come from the framework and the measures that we're setting are largely status quo measures. So they're in the sense that I expect that the next time we do this, that will be the real opportunity for a full conversation with the board after they've had some time in the organisation and have set their own strategy, because really it's up to the board of DHC to set the strategy for the organisation, and for us just to be happy with how we what we think is success and how we measure that.
Thanks, Mitch. Terry, please. Oh, sorry, Delhi first and then Terry.
Mitch probably quite said most of what I wanted to say, and I think the staff have worked really hard on this, as has the advisory group, for want of a better term, and a lot of consideration given to the content and also to the skill set of the new people who are the new board members. And as Mitch says, we've got some absolutely stellar appointments on that board, and they will look at what we give them as a starting point, and I'm sure make it their own in a lot of ways, still with our direction, but to look at areas that we may have even missed. So, yeah, there's been quite a lot of thought, quite a lot of work into it, and many thanks to Jess as well for her efforts.
Thanks, Deli. Terry, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Mitch. Yeah, I've thought the engagement letter was good. Some good stuff in there. I just, as a point of note, I hope they drill down and talk to the small operators that run the tourist industry in the Coromandel and understand where they're coming from or what their issues are before they get too much into the high, platform thing stuff, because I think that's where the energy comes from and that's where the business comes from. And if they do that, I think it'll give them a great start in understanding the industry and promoting in the right way. That would be great.
Yep, thanks, Terry. That was definitely a big part of the discussion was the engagement with industry, and so that's absolutely within the framework and in the KPIs.
Mitch. Robin, please.
Thanks. When we've discussed DHC and their work, particularly this destination management plan, I think, had a level of comfort across elected members that the destination management plan was a living document. And the blue page, the draft output and outcome framework page seems like a really good place to sort of cement the updating of that destination management plan in, because that's always the bit that I've been a bit worried about. It's like, yes, it's a living document, but how does it actually get changed? And so I wondered whether it was appropriate in the what we do column, there's a destination management tab, and then activities and outputs, the last bullet point says supporting the endorsement of and implementation of the DMP. And I wonder if that's a good place to sort of insert wording that suggests that it will be updated as required. So supporting the endorsement, continued development and implementation, or something like that. I trust that you'll know the right words to put there, but just because it sort of marries up the two processes from my point of view.
Yeah, so we had considered this and we couldn't actually land on the right wording because we didn't want to make a commitment to do the DMP all over again. And so it was really about updating it. I think that's probably the right way of putting it.
Yeah, under the medium term to update it and implement it.
Yeah.
We one of the tasks for Destination Coromandel is still the establishment of a DMP panel or board with industry. And so I see the opportunity for the DMP to really be lifted up just to those district level objectives. And because I know that the area specific objectives were probably missed the mark in some areas. So that's still part of the longer term work program.
No, that's good to hear. To your point, Rekha, yes, in medium term outcomes, DMP continues to be updated and implemented. I just wondered if that needed to come earlier as a distinct activity that is part of the destination management activities and outputs.
Cool.
Thanks, team. Any other questions, comments? All right, thank you. Terry, are you happy to move that? Seconder? Deli? All those in favour? Aye. Those against? Thank you, team.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mitch. Much appreciated. Thank you. So item 3. After this item?
Oh, I
So,
mean, after the one we just had. So now.
Now. Okay.
Through the chair, can we please address the late item report that all councillors have a hard copy of that?
Has everyone got a copy?
Everybody got a copy?
Gary, have you got a?
Gary, do you have a copy?
All right, there's one thing. Yes, we've got the copies. It says in the background, under the terms of reference for the committee adopted on the 13th of December 2022, attachment A, and then there is no attachment. Oh, no. I very much appreciate that. Thank you.
But I can get them for you if you'd like that.
Should I perhaps start?
Thank you.
Seeing as I was the culprit that brought this in as a late item. This is really a formality just to get John onto the committee. We're about to start a process which is one of the more important processes with our Chief Executive Officer, and I believe that John, that's the setting of the KPIs. I believe John has the experience and the expertise to be of huge benefit on that committee, and he'll bring another whole new dimension to it. Obviously, I brought this to the attention of the Mayor prior to today's meeting to make sure that he was okay with this as a late item, and he was. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Your Worship. So it's really just a formality to get a person with the experience and expertise that John has onto that committee to assist us.
Thank you, Councillor Morrissey. Would you like to move it? And then we'll have.
Absolutely. I would like to move that we accept the recommendation.
All right. Thank you. Any questions, discussion?
It's a question of staff. Is there any way that this resolution can be challenged?
No, we addressed it as a late item, so it would be accepted onto this agenda.
Thank you.
Rika, please.
Is there a maximum number of people on this committee? No, so we're okay. Perfect. Thank you.
All right.
Through the chair, just we do need a minimum of 4 members, so we can have more.
Just we're waiting on the terms of reference. I
think that's just a typo.
Isn't it the terms of reference?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, we did. So we're just waiting for the terms of reference. And then if there's any questions specifically relating to the terms of reference, otherwise we can put the motion.
I don't think the terms of reference will have any bearing because we've answered the question that I would have thought is how many people can be on the committee and that kind of thing. So I'm happy as the person who has raised the issue for it to be circulated to us later and then just move on with this item.
Thank you, Rob. All right, so we'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor John Morrissey. Okay. Chief Executive Report. Thank you.
Okay, so Hayden's here to speak to the financials.
Welcome, Hayden.
Yeah, through the chair, the currently council's overall sort of financials are largely favourable. Just from the reporting deadlines, we didn't get February and we had to use January, but February results are basically in line with January's results. So we remained favourable. Operationally, I suppose the risk area is in the waters area. That's the one that's sort of over at the moment, materially over. All the rest are favourable or pretty close to favourable. But the waters one did have a report brought to the last council meeting to explain that there have been cost escalations and that's a large part of the reason that they're over. Other areas, personnel costs are favourable at the moment, or are very favourable, but they're offset by sort of contractor costs for backfill, so or largely offset. So that there's just been a timing delay with some of the key vacancies that we are looking to appoint. And then probably the third one within the financials is probably our capital deliverability is sort of just been closely monitored. Happy to take any questions. Oh, Aileen, yep.
So shall I speak to that? So
Yes, please.
with the salaries, with the indication that council gave us in the annual plan around some of the operational savings, I've just put a bit of a slowdown on the recruitment processes. So when we've had a resignation, we're recruiting the essential roles, but just putting a pause on some of the others. So the salaries will dip under from here on into year's end. Until we get through the annual plan process and work out how we're going to fund that, the shortfall that we discussed we would fund from operations. And secondly, on the CapEx, I think we had a councillor asked us a question at the end of last year. We've had Ian Morton come in and do a project management stock take. So in the report here, it talks about 19.9 million. So that was at the end of January. We're now sitting on 27 million. The review is actually quite favourable. So out of the 73 million CapEx we have budgeted, there's around 9 million that has basically dropped out for one reason or another. Some procurements we've actually found savings on. We've had some other legal changes, and then we've had some issues around NZTA funding their component. So that drops it down to 64 million as the CapEx that we can deliver. And at the moment, having had a detailed project by project review, Ian has projected we're going to spend 55, which is of the order of about 80% of our CapEx, possibly a bit above, depending on where we get to. So we're monitoring that quite closely. We're definitely seeing procurements coming through for sign off, and I think the NZTA folk are quite confident. Sorry, not the roading folk are quite confident those projects are going well. The place we're keeping an eye on is around the waters, and there's a number of reasons for that, but we're watching that. So that's kind of the end of the financials. Is there any further questions on financials?
Thank you. Look, it's not really a question. It's but I seem to get trapped every time. So perhaps I'm a slow learner, but it takes me 15 minutes before I realise I'm looking at figures that relate to 3 or 4 months ago, and I struggle with that. And I'd love to know what has to happen or what has to be true for us to be able to deal with much more current numbers. Otherwise, we can't take action and so on. So,
yeah, so it's to do with the reporting, the council meeting deadlines. So currently, obviously, we've just finished March, so we're in the throes of doing March month end. With February, it just comes down to that when we have to have the reports in. I guess we could work around. Yeah, it's not really. There's like a deadline in here.
Well, because these reports are produced how many weeks? 4 weeks. 4 weeks ago to make the agenda deadlines.
Correct. Yeah.
And in particular, this agenda, we were really squeezed by the rating review and the waters, and they took priority. So, I don't think we would have been updating these sorts of numbers with the kind of pressing things we had on our plate for this agenda. The only other way to do it would be to do it outside of a meeting cycle, and that's an option.
Sorry, Terry, does that help answer your question, Peter?
it does help answer the question, and it gives me something to think about too. Thank you.
Thank you. Terry?
Yeah, no, it's interesting that your figures, Aileen, there, that expenditure of $9 million just between that period, where's that in roading, or is it in, where's it come from?
It's across a number of different projects. So we've found savings on a number of projects. When they've gone out to procurement, they've cost less than we expected them to cost. Therefore, we've got money sitting in the budget. We had a change in legislation around our software, and so the software got turned into OPEX, not CapEx. And then we've had the NZTA funding changes, which you will have seen in previous agendas. So that takes $9 million out in terms of the CapEx budget.
Right, so it's not actual work done, it's just stuff that's savings.
Savings and
Savings.
other things that mean that we
Right.
wouldn't be spending that money.
Okay. So on the work that's got to be done, you feel comfortable looking at those numbers you told us there, that you can hit 80% of the work completed?
That's what I'm seeing from the review. This review is going to come to the Risk and Assurance Committee to go through detail each project. Within each project, there's risks, obviously, and waters is the area that Ian has identified as the biggest risk for us. And I think he talked about $2 or $3 million being at risk around water.
And quickly, is there anything from the NZTA funding for storm relief still to be done?
Yes, and that's one of the areas of contention where I think it's actually Cyclone Hale that we've still got some work to do, and we've got to unlock the NZTA funding. But I'm not clear on the details of that.
John Draft, please.
Just as a suggestion, because I share the view around the financials and dealing with January and your deadlines, I appreciate all of those things. I'm just wondering whether a workaround for that would be just a one-page summary that you could provide to us at the meeting that just summarize the current, just so we can understand where things are positioned, after.
Yeah, we'll look at that. And the leadership team is beginning to get project updates that are more current, but I think the leadership team has suffered in the past from not having current updates, particularly around the projects, but we're rectifying that at the moment. So we'll take that the next step and work out how we get that through to elected members.
Just at a very high level, just to show just the main areas of movement.
Okay. Thank you, Hayden. So other matters you'll see, I think we had the record number of Lagoimas in February. So the team have been really busy pulling those together and setting an increase in the number of complex Lagoimas that are coming through.
May I ask a question? I went through and looked at those Lagoimas line by line and just sort of thought, how could some, there's a range of topics there. Are you finding that there's sort of one or two serial, I don't know what the word is, submitters?
Requesters? Yes.
Requesters, that's the word. Yes. Or is this sort of widespread in general community interest?
We definitely have repeat requesters and put things in place to try and manage that. But there's a broad range of requests that come through.
I'm amazed at the spread of the topics and things.
Yeah. And everyone's entitled to information out of the council, and we're a transparent, open organisation from that respect. But there's also a counter view that one ratepayer hasn't got the right to chew up a whole load of staff time that's been paid for by another ratepayer. So with it sitting in there is quite a difficult balance. We do have the option to try and charge for some requests, and we do try to, but the Ombudsman's guidance was not to charge. So we do find ourselves stuck between a rock and a hard place sometimes around managing the requests.
And do we have a policy like, every ratepayer gets 2 a year or 3 a year, or it can't be that simple?
No, everyone has the right to information.
Okay.
But only a few exercises.
How big is the team of people that sits and manages this? Because this would be a huge workload.
Certainly a couple of staff.
Yeah.
2. Yeah. Okay.
2 staff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We've increased it in my time here. We've increased it, and because there's quite a lot of risk around when we get Lagoimas wrong, it can create more work for us in dealing with the complaints and so on through the Ombudsman.
Question, if I may. The Lagoima around consent information for Whiringa vets and consent process. I don't know whether our staff or anyone here saw that. I think it was a quarter-page ad in the Informer that the Whiringa vets had taken out in an attempt to correct the misinformation that seemed to be published by the Informer on that odour issue going on at the Whiringa vets. Did anyone else see that ad taken out by the vets? Does that relate to that ongoing odour issue? Or you might not know off the top of your head.
I would assume so, but I guess it's not illegal to place an ad.
No, it was just interesting that they felt that they had to do that to try and balance up the information.
Yeah, okay. And I think probably most of the content of the rest of the report's fairly well known to you. Just noting that the RMA reforms announcements were made at the late March. A pretty big shift in how we will be managing our natural resources and our planning laws into the future. And we can look to have some of the staff come and present to you on that, should that be of interest. Noted my ongoing role in the Climate Adaptation Independent Reference Group. Super interesting work, and there is a little bit of public information sitting on that website. Noting we have Jeanette Weekhider starting in late May. We're envisaging a porphyry for her. Pretty exciting to have Jeanette coming home to come and support us. And then just noting the communication campaigns, and we can now put a tick next to the rating review as actually being underway as well. And happy to take any questions.
Graph.
We can't have one of these meetings without me asking the question, so
I'll pass it to Brian.
straight through.
May as well.
RFS updates on here, just high level, far away.
Yes, at the through you, Mr. Chair, at the last meeting we presented, I think it might have been February, we talked about bringing quarterly data, similar to finance, just agenda cutoffs. We'll probably have a month delay, so your January to March data will normally come in May. Your April, May, June data will probably come in August, and we'll roll on a quarterly update similar to what was pretty well received in the February meeting. In the background, improving the system to be more automated, still going on, but that shouldn't stop us from manually bringing you the data at each quarter.
Okay. Is it possible perhaps just to have a paragraph in regard to just the number of RFSs and just a little bit of background around how that is performing in between those quarters?
Yep, that shouldn't be a problem. We could do a high level summary in between, just a paragraph on that. Yeah, I might just catch you offline just to see what you're kind of looking at in between the full kind of quarterly.
Look, I just think it's one of the key deliverables within it, and it's really just from a governance perspective that that we are maintaining that level of service, and just a statement really to that effect would be.
Nothing else? All right, thank you.
Happy to move acceptance of the report.
Got a seconder? Ellie, thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. Thanks, Aileen. Mayoral Report, pretty self-explanatory. Any questions, discussion? No. I'll move the report be received. Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. And we'll move to public excluded. Could I get a mover and a seconder, please, for public excluded? Seconder. John Grant. All those in favour? Thank you. And we'll take a couple of minutes just to let staff go through the process. Thank you.